big problem is that the staff report directs itself, says that essentially if the zoning is correct, then we can go ahead. But apparently nobody paid any attention to the minutes of the February 16th BCDC meeting, where they said that, this is a tiny parcel sandwiched between the shoreline and an adjacent roadway, and there is no room to move the footprint to the proposed hotel to ensure that it falls within the BCDC guidelines. Then they go on to say that it misses the objectives of BCDC. Objective 1, make public access public by ensuring that the user is not intimidated, nor is the user's appreciation diminished by a large building mass, structures, or incompatibilities. They say a 50-foot building. I understand it'll be a 40-foot building, but nevertheless, it's imposing. Objective 3, provide and maintain enhanced visual access. Objective 4, maintain and enhance visual quality of the bay, shoreline, and adjacent developments. And Objective 6, take advantage of the bay settings. So what the reason that they turned it down was not the zoning, but they felt that the entire project did not give the public what they needed, and it wasn't for the best interest of the public. And none of this information was put in the staff report. The staff report just said, okay, if we have a zoning change, then we can go ahead. I think that this is basically a waste of time with respect to this, because the parcel doesn't fit a hotel. And it's been clear in their report that it didn't. So I don't know why this information wasn't provided to the rest of the board members in the staff report.
Respectfully, I disagree. 2 reasons. 1, the decision is, what does the city of Alameda believe this site should be? Not what BCDC 7 commissioners, not even a majority, 7 of the commissioners. Let me just explain how BCDC operates. A majority needs to pass an item. They've got something like 30 board members. The number of board members that actually voted, because of the number that were there, more board members voted for the project than voted against it. But the motion failed because they needed something like 18 votes to pass the motion, and they only got something like 14, and only 7 voted against. I was sitting right there. I'm like, oh, it passed. Majority passed. Oh, no. A majority is 19 of the board of 20, 30, or whatever it is. And then what they did is they came back, and 2 weeks later, what you're reading from is the findings 2 weeks later. They went back to the board. So I call up the BCDC staff. I'm like, well, a majority of the people there actually voted for the project. What makes you think a majority is now going to vote against it? And BCDC staff tells me, oh, that's not the way we do it. The only people who voted on those findings out of 30 board members, just the 7 who voted no. Number two, those findings, how do you build if those are true, then you can't build anything on this site. How do you do an office building and meet all those findings? The site's only so big. So if you actually read those board findings from BCDC, not City of Alameda, BCDC, you can't build anything on this site. You're basically saying, just forget about hotel. How do you build an office building on this site and make those findings? I don't know how you do it.
Well, maybe the site just doesn't work then, because I'll tell you something, that the responsibility of the council and the responsibility of this board, as I understand it, is to provide a decision that provides the greatest and best use of the land for the public, which are the people of Alameda. And after reading these findings on this thing and looking at the parcel, I think they're valid. And there's no sense debating it. That's just my opinion. And looking at the parcel, walking the parcel, and getting a feel for it, and looking at these findings, and looking at the findings before. This is not the highest and best use of this land for the people of Alameda, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and
only my opinion.
It is your opinion, and that's what you're here, and you're appointed for that. What I'm reacting to is that opinion. Then I believe what you're saying is, let's not amend the zoning. Let's leave it exactly as is. So what that means is you have to be comfortable with an office building on that site as opposed to a hotel. That's all. Now, it's a privately owned piece of property, and somebody, if you say, look, let's not change the zoning to allow hotels, what you're saying is, but it's okay for them to come forward and do an office building. And what I'm struggling with is, if you're worried about all the things you just read, or a hotel, why aren't you also worried if it's an office building?
We'll just cross that bridge when we come to it.
All right.
I mean,